Carrying someone.
Be with each one of our council members, our mayor, and those who are present here. Help them to be with each one of our council members, our mayor, and those who are present here. Help them to make decisions that will be best for Corpus Christi. Lord, we know that many things are going on in our world and in our country. Lord, I pray that you be with those who are making leadership decisions, that they will make them in honor of you. Lord, as we are in the middle of the school year.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you for being here. Our Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag and to the Texas state flag will be led by Kayla Ray Calamaco. She is a 12th grader at Cal Allen High School. She has overcome many obstacles to graduate.
And indivisible.
Thank you, Kayla, and good luck.
Thank you.
Ms. Huerta, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Paulette Guajardo.
And we just want to highlight that this morning. And so on September 4th, Governor Abbott's office announced the appointment of Chief Wade to the Texas Commission on Fire Protection. And Chief Wade's appointment is to complete a term that is set to expire in February. So he'll have from September 4th through February. And we were just talking a few minutes ago, and we suspect that he'll be nominated again for the full term, which is a 6-year term in February. And so then the governor could consider a reappointment for a longer term. But just some background on the commission: it is a 13-member board appointed by the governor and confirmed by the Senate. And the commission helps adopt policies related to fire protection, which then become state administrative laws. So it's an important commission. The commission is the mission of the commission is to aid in the protection of lives and property in Texas through development and enforcement of recognized professional standards for firefighters and for fire service. So it's an important commission. It was formed in 1991. The commission was, and it reviews policies regarding regulation of fire departments and firefighter standards in Texas. So we do want to congratulate Chief Wade to this appointment, for his appointment, and for representing Corpus Christi, Texas at the state level. And Chief Wade's here this morning. He's going to come up and say a few words. So Chief, congratulations again. Yes, sir.
So thank you very much, City Manager and Mayor, Council. First off, just I'm honored to be able to be nominated and then selected by the governor and appointed to the Texas Commission on Fire Protection. And the support from the City Manager's office when I first brought this up, that this was a possibility for it, they were full supportive of it. And I think it's important for us to be able to represent not just the Coastal Bend, the city of Corpus Christi, but we also have representation now for across the state. And as he mentioned, that the commission is important not just on improving the safety of the citizens of the state of Texas when it comes to fire protection, but also it goes down the line to protecting our firefighters and increases the standards and efficiency and effectiveness that we do every day out there on the job. So I'm honored to be with a great group of fellow commissioners with it from across the state, and I will serve us proudly. And as always, if there's anything that I can do from my position or anything or influence I have to help, I'm always here to do that. And thank you again for the opportunity and the support. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, Chief.
Thank you, Chief Wade.
Great, thank you for that, Chief Wade. And Mayor and Council, the second item will be a little longer. This one is, we're going to have Ryan Skrabacek, our Director of Intergovernmental Relations, provide a post report from this year's Texas Municipal League Annual Conference. It was held on October 9th through 11 in Houston. Myself and a few from the manager's office and several council members attended this annual conference. This is the largest, the TML conference, and TML is one of our is the largest government conference in Texas that brings over 3,000 municipal officials from across the state to address critical issues facing the communities. And so we appreciate TML. The city is a member of the TML. The mayor is on the board of TML, and the annual conference is a great way to get current information on what's happening across Texas. There's some voting that takes place, and Ryan, Councilman Hernandez, myself were there to help on what we thought were priorities for the legislature based on a TML perspective. And Ryan's here to focus on that and then just give a general overview of a summary of the TML conference and TML itself. So with that, we'll turn it over to Ryan. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Ryan Skabarczyk, Director of Intergovernmental Relations for the City of Corpus Christi, and we've got a presentation. So first and foremost, we wanted to just remind Council, obviously, but make the public aware of what is the Texas Municipal League. So it was actually started in 1913 by Austin Mayor A.P. Wooldridge, who brought, at that time, cities together to look at issues that were shared across those various municipalities. At present, since that time and since its founding, the TML represents cities before legislative, administrative, and judicial bodies. And so, as you can see there, the mission is advocacy, education, and service. The members of the Texas Municipal League include, obviously, the City of Corpus Christi and major municipalities across the state. As the city manager mentioned, our mayor is one of the at-large members on the board of directors. It's got a fairly large board comprised of the individual regions. If you've attended a region TML meeting, you've probably interacted with the staff at that level, and each of those regions has a director on the board of directors. They do, as I said, several different things as a part of their mission, but the conference, the annual conference, is an important part of that for continuing education, and it does provide an opportunity to coordinate amongst cities throughout Texas. So this year's annual conference was conducted in Houston. As the city manager stated, it's one of the largest gatherings of city officials and attendees. Amongst the Corpus Christi delegation this year included council members, the city manager's office, the IGR department, Corpus Christi Water. The city attorney and city secretary also attend, and in many cases they have specialized education for those offices. One of the things, or one of the sessions rather, that we all attended, I think pretty much everybody from the city of Corpus Christi, was our own Drew Molly, Chief Operating Officer for Corpus Christi Water, had the opportunity to speak on a panel with Chairwoman Brooke Popp of the Texas Water Development Board, talking about the state's needs and then obviously how City of Corpus Christi, for our part, is working to address the water needs. Chairwoman Popp has spoken several times recently in front of legislative bodies positively about the work that the City of Corpus Christi is doing. So this conference provides that important opportunity to make sure that we stay in touch with statewide officials like herself. There were over 50 education sessions that were offered. This is just a sampling of the various ones that we attended. You know, if you included the legal training sessions, like I said, there's quite a bit of concurrent education going on. Probably the most popular session is the Legislative Outlook that's conducted by TML staff. It's the most widely attended, I think, of the attendees that are there, and this is obviously an important one because it's the conference leading into the next legislative session. And so these are issues that were identified by TML staff as priorities or upcoming issues of concern for this next legislative session. The council is probably familiar with the concept of super preemption, where the state has, as opposed to taking targeted preemption of local ordinances, they've started this concept of wide swaths of preemption across whole areas of state statute. And there is a legal case that is ongoing on that particular bill from last session. And so there's a question of, does the state return to look at that issue this next session? Or will they continue to expand on super preemption and how that might impact city operations? ETJ and annexation, it's no surprise to the council that the state continues to look at ETJs and annexation authorities, and over the years, those authorities on behalf of cities have continued to be eroded. And so we monitor that very closely because it obviously impacts planning and development and the other city responsibilities that we have to be a part of. Zoning reform and housing is actually a fairly hot topic across the state of Texas right now. You have kind of a coalition of folks across the political spectrum looking at how do we make more affordable housing available. And one of those proposals, or several of those proposals actually, look at the zoning ordinances that municipalities have in place. And so there will be efforts this legislative session to come up with a statewide solution. That may include really limiting the amount of property that can be within a plot. And so those types of things can alter what a local council might determine is best for their community. And so that's going to be a priority that we really want to stay on top of.
So let me be clear.
Oh, you know what I...
So let me be clear, we have the governor who was here the other day for a property rights meeting, and the state legislature and TML is talking about taking property rights away.
No.
That makes a lot of sense.
Well, it depends on how you look at the issue. I think that what TML is talking about is the fact that the state might say that a city must allow a plot as small as 1,400 square feet.
Well, that's the same thing, Ryan. Mm-hmm. That's telling the developer how big he or she can or can't make their lot size.
Right.
And,
right.
And then you've got the governor who was here just a few days ago talking about, we got to champion property rights. Mm-hmm. So it seems to me like there's a disconnect.
Well, I think the reality is it's traditionally the authority of a city to understand kind of the local dynamics.
Particular event, and yeah. I want to say that our smallest zoning is 4,500 square feet under RS 4.5 for a single member family. What they're talking about at the state legislature is reducing that to 1,400 square feet, which is a postage stamp. And so that's taken away local control over what we want our lot size.
Prohibiting local political subdivisions from the ability to have lobbyists and contract with lobbyists to represent us in Austin. And the reality of that is, while that's not passed in any recent session, the concern is it would in a very real way deprive cities from being actively involved in the policy development process.
Yes, so Ryan, these are legislative points and issues that TML has identified. So
yep.
I'm assuming, or correct me if I'm wrong, mm-hmm. this is carrying over to our legislative agenda?
Yes, ma'am, that's right.
Okay.
It actually timed nicely where this process afforded us the opportunity to see what other cities are
right.
looking at, TML staff are looking at.
Right.
And as you saw, there was a memo sent yesterday from my office to council, and it's actually posted on Legistar as an attachment, that it'll be a process that we benefit from because
right.
we have that opportunity to look at what they're talking about. Okay, if we can get back to the presentation. So then this is a slide from the last time that I briefed council on the TML Municipal Policy Summit and where we are in that process. So that last date with the green check mark was the TML conference, the annual business meeting. And then the reality is, though, the TML Board of Directors ultimately sets the league's legislative priorities. And so that meeting will happen in December. Where they will make the final decision on what is prioritized and kind of what order. So at the annual business meeting, which is a facet of the TML conference every year, cities have the opportunity to vote on the legislative agenda. In an off year, they consider resolutions that are sent in by cities prepared in advance of the next coming session. In a year like this, where we're heading into a legislative session, they actually adopt the report from the TML Municipal Policy Summit as the first resolution. And then there are an opportunity for other cities to submit resolutions to try to alter that. There were 27 in total, and the memo that was sent to you yesterday and is available on Legistar includes the full run of the resolutions which were approved. And so, you know, the reality is most of those resolutions that were submitted, or many of them actually, were defeated for, you know, a variety of reasons. And then, as I stated, the board has the ultimate say in December. And with that, that concludes my presentation.
Great. Ryan, thank you very much.
And Ryan, can you, Mayor and Council, this is one legislative agenda, the one that TML develops and approves, but this City Council will adopt a federal and a state legislative agenda. And 2 dates to keep on your calendar. November 19, that's a City Council meeting. We'll be working with the City Council in kind of a workshop format on the legislative agenda. So it'll be a discussion. Ryan will present what he's collected through the past 2 years with the City Council. On November 19, there'll be discussion amongst the council of what do we want our state and federal legislative agenda to be for the January timeframe. And then on December 3rd, a few weeks later, the City Council will adopt.
Place for over 30 years. Public comment serves as one avenue for communication, but it's not the sole method. You can also reach out to council members by way of phone calls, emails, or even in-person appointments. With that, let's proceed to public comment, keeping in mind the importance of decorum and adherence to the policy. And before we begin, I'd like to ask our City Attorney, Miles Risley, to review the rules of decorum, which will be displayed on the screens above.
All citizens must be courteous, polite, and respectful of one another, including the City Council and city staff. The mayor and council members shall be referred to by title and/or title surname. All remarks must be addressed to the mayor and council and not to the council members as individuals. Citizens are only permitted to speak on city-related subject matter. Speaking on any non-city-related matter is prohibited. Loud, boisterous, profane, or obscene language or behavior is not allowed. Citizens must refrain from any disturbing noise, demonstration, or other act disrupting to the city council business.
Thank you, Mr. Risley. So individuals will be called upon in the order that they signed up electronically. We will first hear in-person comments, followed by virtual public comments. Residents of Corpus Christi will be given priority over non-residents. And please state your name and address prior to your comments. You have 2 opportunities to make public comment on an agenda item. The first one is at this time, and the second would be when we actually hear the item. So please select one option. Citizen comments are limited to 3 minutes, while non-resident comments are limited to 1 minute. And a visible timer positioned near the City Secretary's desk will assist in managing the allotted time. If you have a petition or relevant information, please present it to the City Secretary and she will hand it to us before you speak. So with that, we will start with Mr. John Weber.
John Weber, 609 Naples Street. From an assistant city attorney, modeling for Inner Harbor and the cost involved is tremendous. We're talking $50,000 to $100,000 to run modeling. The port approved $60,000 for modeling. It has been confirmed the cost ended up being about $40,000 for the far field model. Our budget is a $1.8 billion budget, so $44,000 is insignificant in terms of the size of the budget. In summary, the cost of a far field model is insignificant. A small price to pay before spending over $750 million on a project that may or may not work. Let's review again what is on Councilmember Pusley's website. It correctly states groundwater was a key component of our regional water supply and was helpful in getting us through major droughts in the past. It states groundwater supplied approximately 10% of our water. A water expert has confirmed the city groundwater wells had the capacity to supply about 15 million gallons of water a day. It also correctly states that the Mary Roads pipeline was completed. When it was completed, the city abandoned its wells. The aquifer is a prolific, drought-proof, sustainable source of water, which in some locations is drinking water quality right out of the ground. The site states groundwater resources can be developed within months, not years, and supply substantial volumes of water. Because of the location of the groundwater, connections could be made with very little effort or cost. Obviously, Councilmember Pusley has been around a while and was aware of all this. He may also have been aware of an agreement the city had for a groundwater supply around 2005. The city paid for an extensive groundwater testing program. About a year and a half into the contract, the city dropped the contract without explanation. The city just backed out of negotiations regarding another agreement regarding groundwater. It sounded like price was the main sticking point. The price per gallon was still less than the growing price of the Inner Harbor desalination project. In conclusion, the city has a history of using groundwater, but just in the last couple of decades, it has been resistant to new groundwater supply and is only focused now on desalination. Why?
Thank you, Mr. Weber. Lori Link.
Hi, Laurie Ling, 16130 Jessamine Street. This is a city-related topic not on the agenda today, but we are hoping it might be in the future. I'm speaking on behalf of myself and our advocate group to show support for the reopening of the BMX racetrack at Salinas Park. We are an eager and organized group of parents, riders, past riders, and those of us who currently drive really far for our kids to compete in a sport they love. We believe there's an opportunity right now to bring back a highly positive and healthy sport to our community and all of South Texas. We've been in contact with Parks and Rec to explore the potential of the Adopt a Park program, and we're committed to do whatever it takes to collaborate with the city to restore the former track located at Salinas Park to an operating USA BMX sanctioned racetrack. I brought a video today of footage I've collected over the past year to give you an idea of what the sport is all about and what we can achieve here in our city. These are 7 out of the 11 USA BMX sanctioned tracks in Texas. BMX racing is a sport for all ages, starting with riders as young as 2 on Strider bikes, all the way to grandparents. It's an Olympic sport that is much more than just a race. It's a community, it's generational, it's quality family time and shared experiences. Right now, there are no sanctioned tracks south of San Antonio, but we believe we can change that. We are not just advocating for the reopening of a track in Corpus Christi, but working to restore access to a cherished sport for families and riders across all of South Texas. We know that together we can do this.
Riders, ready, watch the game.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ling. Robin Sanders?
Mayor?
Yes. Sure. Yes.
Do we know why the original park ceased to?
The BMX at Salinas?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's there, and we've also spoken about revitalizing that come the big plan or the Salinas Park plan, but why did it go away? I don't know, and I don't know when it went away.
It went away more than 5 years ago, Councilman, but we've been looking at trying to bring it back.
I think it was more than that.
Yeah, probably.
It's been decades, Peter.
Yeah,
It's not been there for a long, long time.
So it's within the city park?
Yes, it's inside.
Yeah.
It's just overgrown, but that is part of the big plan for revitalizing Salinas Park.
Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
good. Thank you very much.
Ms. Sanders.
I want to talk to you today about the economics.
Ma'am, can you state your name and address, please?
Robin Sanders, I'm sorry. I know some of you people, I figured you knew who I was. Hi, Mike. Robin Sanders, 730 Avondale, Corpus Christi, Texas. I live a mile and a half from where we stand right now. This area, anybody that has been down Leopard Street knows that this is a hotbed of prostitution, drug dealing, theft, and every other kind of criminal activity you can think of. Now, I've seen that you are interested in safety and economics, and I want to commend you on the fine job that you've done. The Mr. Dodd, who is in charge of parks, is an amazing person. 15 years I've dealt with this city to try and improve, fix the parks in Corpus Christi. This is an area, a green spot, where people who live there take their children, go to play, have basketball. We've got a basketball court in ours. But we cannot have a play station there. Why? Exactly 1,100 feet on Omaha Street is a hotbed of pedophiles, parolees, and every other kind of degenerate that you can think of. This is done because there's a limit to how close a pedophile can live to a public park. It's 1,000 feet. They're 1,010 feet. I've been through every agency that there is. I went to the parole office and asked them, why are all of these criminals? You can look at your maps, see where they are. See where all the criminals are. Westchester Park is in the middle. Rasmussen, gentleman, slumlord, is wanting to buy all of the properties on Omaha. He's made a deal with the parole and probation office. We will take your felons and have dumped them in our area. There's a hotel called the Safari Hotel. Right, we've torn down, we've had some great success. We have demolished and gotten rid of places where prostitutes and drug addicts are doing business. This Safari Hotel is notorious whorehouse and drug central. The neighbors, we have followed the drug dealers, and this is where they're getting their drugs. We've even got somebody in an ice cream truck. You nod like you know about this. Ice cream truck delivering drugs to these areas. Right outside of this building, on the corner, I don't know, do we have vagrancy laws anymore? The city is being invaded by people that I cannot walk down the sidewalk and go past them.
Thank you, Ms. Sanders. We appreciate your comment.
Are you going to do anything about it is my question.
And Chief Markle, we might get with Ms. Sanders about what kind of patrolling is happening there. Okay. Stephen Klepper. Thank you, Chief Markle.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Steve Klepper, 317 Sunset Avenue, District 2. Accountability and transparency, those are two words we're hearing a lot, particularly now, and right before the election. These are two related words, and they both have to do with the public providing or not information to the citizens. The city manager is fond of mentioning the $1.8 billion budget he manages, but we don't hear much from him, I don't think anything, from him about whether these tax dollars are being used efficiently and effectively. That's an example of a lack of accountability. Before, or when Mr. Zanoni arrived as city manager, the public could get such information on the city website through what was then called the City Performance Report, CPR. It was actually supported, aggressively supported, by 5 city managers preceding him, from Skip Noe to the interim Keith Selman before Mr. Zanoni took over. All of this data on the most of this data, 50%, was pulled automatically through stored queries from computer systems. 2 of you might remember when a department head would get up at City Council and give a brief presentation on the CPR, what was available to the public at any time. Chief Morkel did it many times and did a fine job with it. For each measure, there was charts available, there was a history, there were a combination of measures of efficiency, effectiveness, economy, and all of that, such as how long, and it was real-time data. How long did it take to fix a water main or respond to a wastewater backup? What were the crime reporting statistics for the last month? This performance reporting on the city's website was born when Skip Noe was city manager. And that's why I gave you that article that I was asked to write for Public Works magazine, published in 2009. Gives you a good history, and on page 2, you'll see an example of the balanced scorecard, what it looked like. It was born out of our re-engineering efforts when we implemented computer-based systems, Maximo particularly. This balanced scorecard evolved into the CPR, City Performance Report. The city's internal auditor, the city auditor is a good source of accountability and transparency. You all know, well, I'll be back after the new council is seated to encourage real performance reporting, data to the public, not spin. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klepper. Alicia Kasperides.
Good morning. My name is Alicia Kasperides. I'm the Executive Officer of the Coastal Bend Home Builders Association. We're located at 6262 Weber Road, 78413. I'm here to talk today about I'm here today to comment on behalf of our membership regarding the impending leadership transitions taking place in development services. Our association members have established a positive, productive, and consistent working relationship with development services staff over the tenure of their current administration. As a significant group of stakeholders that works directly with development services, we want to express our eager anticipation to see internal growth into the current open leadership position and any subsequent positions that may open. Considering the numerous changes over the past few years and the ongoing work being done between city staff and the development the development and building community, it's our position that continuity and growth within the department of the current leadership would be a benefit to the elected officials, city staff, and the development services customers to preserve consistency in the knowledge, certainty, and relationships the current DSD administration has worked so diligently to establish. We want to also thank the current development services staff for their hard work and dedication to our industry and our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. Jason Hale.
I had a slideshow. There it is. Cool. Jason Hale, 211 Lemming. Hi, council members. Today I wanted to look at our last new water supply, and I wanted to see if there were any lessons we could learn from it that we can apply to our next water supply. I think it's an important comparison because the two water supplies are similar in size, and the last one only lasted 7 years until we needed a new one. Okay, so our last new water supply is the Mary Roads Pipeline Phase 2. It went online in 2016 and imports 30 million gallons a day of water from the Colorado River. For reference, Corpus residents and commercial businesses use about 31 million gallons a day. Anyways, 2 years later, the city sold 85% of our new supply to two large volume users, GCGV and Steel Dynamics, leaving the remaining 15% for residential and commercial business growth. Fast forward to today, the Mary Roads pipeline is only operating at 55% capacity, and our reservoir levels are at record lows. So what was supposed to be a net benefit of 4 MGD to our system only ended up being half of that. And now we are leaving around 15 million gallons a day on the table every day due to needed maintenance. That's like half an Inner Harbor plant. So what I want to know is, what's the game plan for our next water supply? Are we going to sell off 85% of it again to large volume users? I don't think regular volume users would be very happy with paying for 40% of a project that they only get 15% of the benefit from. And how much will be reserved for droughts? If all of the water gets locked away in contracts, then we'll be just as much out of water during the next drought as we are today. Plus, do we really need 30 MGD? That's enough water to double our population. Corpus and the rest of Coastal Bend grows around 0.5% a year. That's like 50 years of population growth. Maybe we don't need 30 MGD. Especially because I think the problem with producing such a large excess of water is that it usually gets snatched up by large volume users, and that shortens the amount of time in between new water supplies. If our last water supply only lasted 7 years before we needed a new one, how long will the next one last before we need a new one? Asked because there are 4 proposed desal projects in the area, and according to the city's Swift loan application, just one of them would raise the average water bill $120 per year. If you expand that out for all 4 plants, our yearly water bills could go up $700. That's money people could be putting towards retirement, or their kids' college fund, or just paying their bills. So what's the solution? I think we should focus on fixing what we already have and start looking at cheaper, lower volume supplies like groundwater or reuse. That's my comment. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Hale. Carrie Meyer.
Good afternoon, City Council. Nice to see everyone. I'm here, Carrie Meyer, 4401 Gulf Breeze Boulevard, North Beach. I'm here because there is going to be something on your agenda H, briefing item 3, and they're just getting ready to get done. So one thing that we're really hoping is, regardless of who is here in January, you never know. We really hope that this will continue on into 2025 and 2026, regardless of our elected leaders. And I hope that those of you who are here today can remember this and can help move this along with the new council. The most important is obviously the drainage project, which is on page 3. With a small canal with sidewalks beside it and the elevation of the land on either side to slope into it to solve some of that chronic drainage. The one of interest to me the most personally is page 5, elevate and reconstruct Beach Avenue and Gulf Spray Avenue. Those were bond 2018 projects that I actually wrote the wording and submitted it to the bond committee, and it ended up on the ballot in 2018 and got passed. So that project has been delayed for a variety of reasons, but now it's with the new bridge coming and the canal coming, and these two important east-west roads being elevated to keep them out of the floodwater, the tidal floodwater, that's going to make a huge difference. And one thing about it, it does say on-street parking. As a little aside, I noticed it said that. The area near the Whataburger right now is a parking area. We have semi-trucks parked there. We have RTA buses parked there, and everyone trying to turn and go straight and get through that really dangerous intersection. So I hope that during the design, I guess it's already done, but that the on-street parking will be minimized, especially near the Whataburger, because that's the part that TxDOT and the city are going to have to come together on. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Yes, Councilman.
Carrie, I'm going to ask a quick question. Y'all, any of you could answer this for me. I received an email communication, maybe some of the other council members did too, from a gentleman who traveled here on vacation from Houston, and he came in from, what is it, the 181 side. Is it true that to get to North Beach, you have to go into Corpus and turn around and come back?
Yeah, so our group met with TxDOT officials, Mike Walsh and his people under him, recently about the flooding at the north end outside of the bridge footprint. There's a turnaround, a U-turn underpass area. That floods anytime the tide is pretty much 1.5 feet or higher. We've had a lot of high tides. So TxDOT's solution is to temporarily change the southbound frontage road from Beach Avenue to the Lighthouse into two-way, and that means that they're having to close down that only southbound exit to North Beach coming from Portland. It's complicated.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have to go into downtown, do a turnaround by the U.S. Post Office, more or less, by the Caller Times building, get back on the bridge to get back. So anyone going to the aquarium or the Lexington who's coming from Houston is having to be rerouted anytime the tide is high. We've worked with TxDOT to try to make that a better solution, but the city staff has planned a meeting with TxDOT and the city and the stakeholders coming up, and Peter's aware is the one doing that. So
Okay.
Great.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Councilman
it.
Roy.
Yeah, I just wanted to expound on that I actually reached out to some of the North Beach residents. I've already talked to city staff about the entire issue and looked into it because I had the same phone calls. So I know that we are looking into it, and it seems like an incredible inconvenience. So thank you. Thanks for taking my call yesterday.
Thank you, Carrie. Adam Rios.
Good afternoon, everybody. Adam Rios, 7301 Tangled Ridge Court. Just want to remind everybody about the Adopt a Park program that we honored this morning. I'm now proud to be a part of West Goose Skate Park, and just trying to bring more attention. There's so many parks that could certainly use some adoption right now, and I'm glad that I am a part of that. In getting this honor, I just wanted to take a moment to thank the neighborhood that I grew up in, Tanglewood. Glen Arbor Park was a huge meeting place for me and the neighborhood kids, as well as the surrounding area. Some of the most diabolical football games ever assembled happened there, usually on Saturday mornings or after school. Who needed a referee? And I'll never forget just growing up in that park and playing sports there in Little League, and then one day, out of nowhere, it was like a monolith. If you've ever seen 2001 Space Odyssey, this thing appears, and I kid you not, it was a ramp. Somebody had built a ramp and put it out in the middle of the park. To this day, nobody knows who did it, but for anybody who had a bike, we were like, okay, we're going to put the skateboards down for a minute, and that's where we started launching ramps. And that sort of changed the trajectory again of my life and getting into alternative sports. I remember my mom being thankful that, okay, you're not playing those rough football games anymore. But I was like, yeah, but lining each other up on the ground and jumping over each other's bodies and jumping over trash cans on fire. And kids stay in school. These were dangerous things to do. But anyway, it did change the trajectory and certainly had a hand in my love already for surfing and skating at the time. But at that time, we had a park. I don't know if anybody remembers this, but we had Way Out Weber, and it was a BMX park, and it was a racetrack, and we were there every single weekend. We'd put the skateboards down, go over there, and found yet another community that we could be a positive force in, a place where competition was actually leading to some lifelong friendships that I have to this day. I didn't know it at the time, but years later, my friend Joe Rich, who runs this incredible company called Terrible One, he's been featured on ESPN on the Pro Spotlight, but he had visited that park when he was younger, and we figured out we were probably at the same place at the same time. It was a place where we pushed each other. We competed, we got sponsors. We learned a really important lesson, which is that we are all sort of hustling individually, but if we all have a seat at the table, we all eat. And that's a real common thread with the communities I'm involved in, skateboarding, surfing, and certainly BMX. I hope you enjoyed that video earlier, because a couple of years ago I brought Salinas Park to council's attention and tried to get something going with it. Parks changed the trajectory of my life. I hope we can do something BMX-wise. This honor is great. These sports taught me education. Making the Dean's List and the National Dean's List is just, it means the same as getting something like this. It's all rooted in community.
Thank you, Mr. Rios. Bob Catalano.
Good morning, Council, Madam Mayor, Peter, good morning. About that inconvenience.
Sir, can you state your name and address, please, before you get started?
I am so sorry. Bob Catalano, 201 Surfside Boulevard in Corpus Christi. That inconvenience, that 6-minute inconvenience, I think it's one of the greatest things. To get to go over that bridge and see all the sights on both sides of it, I love it. The tankers, the aquarium, the baseball field. Come on. You know, people would die to come to see that kind of stuff. Anyways, I like it. So anyway, with that said, I do want to say, I want to thank you all for the time you spend. I don't know how you do it. I think I'd probably last 2 weeks on council and say, forget about it. I can't do it. But you guys, I want to thank you for that. The time you spend for us. I do want to say, though, there is a hazard on the beach still in front of the park on North Beach. Right directly when you come out of the park, the new park, which is a great park. I didn't like the idea in the beginning, but I like it now. When I drive up that street and see those old beach houses, man, it makes it look like they're new. But that park is great. Thank you for that. But right in front of right onto the beach, when you walk out the park and you walk onto the beach, there's concrete, still a foundation, and there's rebar sticking out. I took pictures, and I didn't get them for you, but so there's rebar right close to the edge. When there's high tide, the kids can't see it, and you could walk off that little ledge and fall or stub your feet on those rebars. So I think that's something you ought to be aware about. Also, because of that last hurricane, the sidewalks are different elevations. There's cracks in them. And because of the way the tide's been high, you can't see the sidewalks anymore. And people that don't know the area, it's right in front, same area, right in front of the park. You walk on the sidewalks, very dangerous. Because of different elevations, and there's water there. People walking, riding their bikes, especially at nighttime. Speaking of nighttime, I'm out of time. The lights on the park, great lights, but you can't see. When they put the lights on, I said to the contractor, you can't see with those lights. Why are you putting those lights? They said, well, because it's good for the turtles when they come out. I said, the turtles? So I think we ought to put at least one big light or two lights that we could see at night in the park, because there's issues that go on in the middle of the night. And if there's something going on, I can't see who's out there. I need to get some pet turtles to tell me what's going on. So seriously, that's an issue. You can't see with that lighting. It's beautiful. I don't know how many of you have been there at nighttime, but you got to see it. But you really can't see who's in the park.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Catalano. And our last public comment will be Michelle Gaines.
And Ms. Gaines is not a resident, so she gets 1 minute, Mayor.
Thank you.
Sorry, guys, I live out in Robstown. Michelle Gaines, 5406 Partridge, Robstown. And I don't want to come beat a dead horse, and you've already heard about BMX twice today, but we all decided to come out on the same day, so hopefully you'll remember us after today. And I just wanted to make sure that you understood exactly what BMX is. It's not exactly the same as a skate park or a pump track where you just ride. This is actually a sport, and this is a USA BMX. It's a nationally recognized organization, and if you give us the keys back to the bike track out there at Salinas Park, what we plan to do is bring in someone that's hired by USA BMX to help us resurface that track, get it competition ready for sanctioned racing, which USA BMX controls. They provide us the insurance. We have to charge a small entry fee every time you race, and that goes back to that USA BMX for, so we're not doing this on our own. It's a nationally organized thing. It's well organized, and you'll be very happy if you let us do it.
Thank you, Ms. Gaines. Thank you. That concludes our public comment. And Ms. Huerta, I'd like to ask, where are we on the stating your address, before speaking?
Yes, ma'am. So due to privacy and safety concerns, we've been asked to prepare an agenda item, and it would amend City Council rules of decorum to require that speakers provide their city of residence instead of their full address prior to addressing the City Council.
Okay, good.
And what we ask is during registration, they can still provide contact information in case staff needs to follow up, but publicly they would not state their address.
Okay, good. And that was specific to the request that I had, I think it was
yes,
public, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And our research indicates that many cities follow this procedure, many cities, so it would be
So it's coming to council, when is it expected to be on the agenda?
We could bring it in November. Yeah, we should be able to bring it in November.
Great. Okay, thank you. Can you press your light?
I have a question about that. How does that apply to businesses? We have certain businesses that have their business in town, but the speaker lives out of the Corpus area. How do we address that?
The policy doesn't address that now, so it would be up to the council if a majority wanted something like that, I guess.
Okay.
We go by residence.
Yeah,
Where is your,
it is by residence, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're not supposed to use the business address.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm not going to answer for you, but if you can explain that.
Right now, it does say residence, yes.
Okay, because I've seen businesses use their business address and not be residents of Corpus Christi, and then they get it's hard enough for people to come in person and make the public comments. I just wish that we could just decide if somebody comes in person, they should get the 3 minutes. I just want to make sure people that I'm supporting that.
Thank you.
Okay, we can discuss it further when the item comes up. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we are going to go ahead and that takes us to item number 3, which is, item H, which is briefings. We have a North Beach revitalization update.
Yes, and Mayor and Council Jeff Edmonds is going to walk us through this briefing, but I did want to acknowledge again the North Beach Community Association, who are here and who we care about. That includes Ron, Carrie, Bob, and Pete here as well. And we've made it a mission over the past 5 years to make sure we are engaging with them. And we often drop in on their meetings just to say hi from time to time, make sure we we keep them and their concerns front and center for us. And I know that's important for Councilman Roy, Councilman Pusley, who have spent a lot of time on North Beach as well. We also want to welcome and thank them for being here, Jesse and Jennifer from the Texas State Aquarium, who are a huge anchor, the #1 tourist attraction in the city of Corpus Christi. They care about North Beach as well, and we care about them. And then we also want to welcome Scott Harris from LAN. He's been the silent giant behind a lot of work that's happening at North Beach, and soon will be coming to council with that linear park canal phase 1 construction contract. And in part, it's because of Scott Harris's dedication to fulfilling, actually beating timelines that we have in our contract with him. We want to thank him and his team for the professional work they've done. So Jeff is going to walk us through at least 5 years worth of effort to really revitalize North Beach, and what you'll see from Jeff will demonstrate that. And so we're happy to show this presentation. We're glad that Councilman Pusley and Roy asked us to put this on the agenda. And with that, we'll turn it over to our engineer, Jeff Edmonds.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. Jeff Edmonds, Director of Engineering Services, and I'm going to roll through this slide deck. So this is a bulletized list of projects that we're going to be discussing. As the manager mentioned, these are there's a big group of players behind these projects. The city has facilitated a lot of this work, but you've also had big contributions from entities, both internal and external, and as well as the TERS and Type A/B. So I'm going to say a little bit about each one of these projects. So as Kerry mentioned, the big project that is going to really help unlock this, and there's actually multiple slides that discuss parts of this project, is this phase 1 drainage improvement project. That is currently advertising for bid, and we would like to get those bids to council for award before end of the calendar year. Now, not only is it going to enhance the drainage, we're calling it the Drainage Improvement Project, but it's really going to unlock that median area in between Timon and Surfside and turn that into a park, and we're hoping that's going to be a destination for folks and help achieve that objective that they've wanted over there of having more people spend more time over there when they come to those anchor attractions. The Eco Park is actually part of this project. We're going to be bringing the drainage into those wetlands up at the north end, and we're going to be, or not, so it kind of suspended action on those projects. Well, now that we've decided what we want to do, there's going to be bridges over those, but they're not bridges that are going to accommodate yachts like was contemplated at one point. But we decided to reconstruct both of those streets for the full length and elevate them so that they'll be less susceptible to flooding. We're also going to be putting off-street pathway that's going to help better accommodate pedestrians and bicycles. And probably also worth mentioning, there's construction funding for this on Bond 24 Prop A. So we're hoping that passes, or we're going to have to come up with a fallback plan for getting that part of the construction funded. This is a rendering of the North Landing from the hike and bike trail that's going to go over the new Harbor Bridge. And we are going to provide connectivity from that point all the way over to the beach path that goes along north to south, parallel to the beach. This is a project that was recently approved by Type B to fund to help the Texas State Aquarium to develop this parking lot. As you know, their parking is going to be interrupted during the demolition of the existing Harbor Bridge, and they're working on a project to replace that parking and enhance their parking, and we agreed to supplement that with some funding from Type B. Most of you were there last July when we had the grand opening for the park, and this has been a very successful project. It's dramatically changed the appearance over there and changed the nature of the patrons. So big step towards helping around the corner and make this more of an amenity, more of an attraction. This was a Public Works initiative. They worked with the North Beach Community Association to help develop a policy that would be compliant with FEMA regulations, but would allow placement of structural fill by property owners to elevate their land. And we're going to help them out with testing so that we can ensure there's not going to be any environmental compliance issues. Puerto del Sol, that's the RV park at the north end, and with the help of some TERS 4 economic development funding, they were able to greatly enhance the quality of that redevelopment of that park. And it's very nice. It's night and day different than what it was before. As you know, we just recently had a fire at the Villa del Sol, and the city engaged a demolition contractor to go and demolish the part of the facility that was damaged. And that was just recently completed earlier this month. And that was a development services effort. They used annual funding that they get for dealing with overgrown lots and when they have substandard structures that require demolition. The new Fajitaville restaurant, this is another project where the city is contributing, or TERS is contributing economic development money. So with the help of a TERS incentive, it's leveraging developer investment of $2.3 million. And they're hoping to have that completed in March 2025. The Animal Rescue Center, this is a project that was undertaken by the Texas State Aquarium, had $18 million budget, and the city helped this out. There was $3 million that the city contributed on the bond 2020 for this. Let's see, and they say they can rescue 3,000 sea turtles at one time in there. Okay, trash can replacement. And this is not only trash can. If you've been over there, you've seen that we've also enhanced a lot of the signage over there and updated it and made the area much more attractive. So that has gone all the way from the south end to the north end of North Beach. The Tropical Storm Alberto, as you know, that pushed a lot of sand up that needed to be removed, put back on the beach, and Parks and Recreation and Public Works put in a significant effort over the period of about 2 months to get that sand back to where it was not a nuisance. In addition, there was some damage at the landing from the Lexington that was also repaired by a city contractor. There was also some Alberto damage. Hotel de Ville. This is another facility that is being assisted with TERS funding. So there's an incentive not to exceed $432,000, and the developer is expecting to invest $877,000 in that project. So they're expecting construction to be in November and be complete in April. I'll say, okay, I've hit the end. Now, there's a couple of other, this is a partial list. There's been a lot of things that have been done over the last several years in North Beach. Some of the things that we didn't mention, like the creation of the Tourist 4. We did the historical plaza. We've got a Bond 22 project, the Surfside project that is getting ready to bid in the next couple of months. And of course, we also do beach nourishment, where we work with GLO to do that with KEPRA funding. Anyway, that concludes my presentation, and I'll stand ready for any questions.
Councilman Pesley.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Jeff, where are we at on the plans and specifications, engineering, whatever we've got for the Echo Park?
That is done. That is being incorporated into the bid documents for the drainage.
For the drainage
Correct.
Plan? Okay. So that we're going to do, and I can't remember which ways we call north and south over there, but we're doing the end closest to the aquarium first.
No, sir.
We're going to do the other end?
North end. This phase starts around Surfside Park and goes out to the north.
Okay. And then we'll work back the other way when the bridge is finished.
That'll be phase 2.
Okay. All right. So anyway, we've already got the plans ready. At some point, could we see those?
They're advertised right now. Anybody
Okay.
can see them on www.civcast.
I was afraid you were going to say they were on the website. That's what I always get when I ask for something.
Well, I'd like to encourage anybody that wants to submit a bid,
never
go
mind.
download them and submit a bid on it.
Councilman, we'll send the entire council a copy. Just a side note too, that LAN, Scott Harris, they're the designer of the linear park canal. They're also the designer through a council-approved contract amendment of the eco park.
Okay.
So they're connected, so they work well with each other.
Well, I just wanted to see it because, myself and Kerry and a lot of other people spent a great deal of time in putting the original ideals for that together.
Absolutely. That's what Kerry told us, and we'll send those to you. We'll send you the pictures.
Okay.
They're kind of big.
Yeah.
I don't know that we can email them. We might have to send you a thumb drive, but they can be downloaded from that.
Okay. I'll go find them.
Website. And we have, I'd point out that we thought it'd be better to put all of these things into one construction package than have multiple contractors out there working at the same time. That's why we put the Gulf Spray and Beach Avenue improvements in there.
Yeah.
It just made sense to do the Eco Park because that's where this is discharging. And we've got funding coming from lots of different sources on this. We've got Bond 18 funding. We've got Bond 20 funding. We've got Bond 24 funding. If it passes, we've got ARPA funding. So,
did we ever reach out to GLO about funding for something like this? They're big on these kind of things, especially these eco parks. They helped me fund 2 of them when I was county commissioner. So
I don't have an answer to that one, but if
well, we probably ought to make a note of that for future councils. And okay, for the connectivity off of the hike and bike trail, what kind of connectivity are we talking about? A striped lane that people
No, shared use path.
But they're going to have to cross traffic when they come down to the end of that hike and bike trail to get over to North Beach, right?
That's correct. There's going to
So
be.
what kind of connectivity? Are we going to have a caution light there, or just leave them to their own device to how to get across that road?
Now, Councilman, we don't have, if we put that picture back up, so the TxDOT's managing this, so when you come off the bridge, off the shared use path, it's going to divert you along the side of the ramp, so you don't cross right there at Beach. Of course you can, but the advisement with signage and wayfinding is to take you all the way to Burleson, where you'll have a much better crossing opportunity. And at Burleson, that's where the trailhead will be for the North Beach side. So TxDOT's building is part of the bridge project, a parking lot facility, and we're making sure it has similar amenities that we'll have over here on the Washington Coles area. So there'll be similar signage, so it's all one system. And so at Burleson, there'll be a big parking lot lighted, and so it's going to direct persons walking or cycling to come down the bridge and take a sharp turn and stay alongside the bridge with a protected barricade of concrete, and not to cross that beach. Of course, we can't stop it if people do cross there, but there'll be signage. And if you see his on the picture here, it shows you kind of wayfinding on the ground that'll take you down to Burleson. So, yeah, because that Beach Avenue intersection, that's where every vehicle coming off the bridge is going to come to. We also know Whataburger's there. It's a very busy intersection.
Yes.
So the less pedestrian movement there, the better for safety. We've been working with TxDOT for my 5 years here, and Neiman has as well. I don't know if there's anything else, Neiman, we want to add to that. Yeah, so, right.
I just was concerned about we had some sort of safety protection for people who are
absolutely
on foot or on bike or whatever, that we're not just throwing them into the middle of traffic.
Exactly. So that diagram showed it to you. So you come down, you turn your direction southbound, and you're protected by concrete walls, basically, on that descending ramp all the way to Burleson.
Okay.
Where there'll be a nice lighted trailhead for that side.
Well, I know we covered this real quickly. This was a lot of work by a lot of people over a number of years. I want to congratulate the North Beach Business Association and all their members for all the work that they put into this. I know this was something that they've worked really hard. And I want to also congratulate Councilman Roy for all the work he put into this and effort. I know he spent a lot of time on North Beach working with the North Beach residents to make a number of these things happen. And this is really good for our community, and it's really good for the aquarium. As a member of the Board of Trustees for the aquarium, I can't tell you how proud I think we all are of the amenities and improvements that are being made to North Beach. And as Peter said, the number one tourist attraction in this area. So thank you all very much and the engineering department and Scott and his staff for all the work that's been done. Thank you.
Councilman Klein.
Thank you, Mayor. Jeff, thanks for the presentation. I'm going to go off script and ask you this question. I think I emailed this to you last Friday as well. I was attending a meeting of the Nueces River Authority flood planning group, and they were talking about they're putting together a flood plan currently right now, I think for the next year. They still have a window within which you can amend that yet as well. And so I'm thinking about the canal project. This is what I asked you by email as well. This is a pretty short time frame. Would it be possible to apply through the NRA to receive some state funding for that? This is the phase 1 of the canal project. Phase 2, which would be more expensive actually, could be folded into the 2028 flood plan that NRA is going to put together over the course of the next couple of years. But, I'm sorry? Region 13, thank you. But I want to know if something could be done yet by December 15th. That's a pretty short time frame.
And thank you, Councilman. Neiman Young, Assistant City Manager. We have had discussions regarding that floodplain strategy before, specifically Councilman Hernandez and another councilman had asked us about it. And we did make sure that we have people from our stormwater division actually attending the meetings and being included in the plans. And we have had discussions with the agency regarding amending the plans, not to include the phase 1, but specifically the phase 2 of the project, simply based on the phase 1 is already going, and we're basically in a race against time to get the ARPA funds encumbered and get that project going. By the time that we are able to get that flood plan amended, the North Beach phase 1 already be in construction. So we're really looking at the phase 2 portion to target for funding for state grants.
Yeah, and again, I know the time is short, but I think it might be worth a phone call to Travis Prisky and or Christy Shaw, that group over there, just to see if there's something that can be done yet before December 15th. My understanding is that the city's plan is a $25 million project. The city's planning to contribute $20 million, $5 million coming from the feds. Anything we might be able to get from the state would help to alleviate the city's financial responsibility for that then as well. I'd be very much in favor of that if we can do it within the next, whatever that is, 50 days.
Yes, sir. We'll get with the Stormwater Division and tell them to continue those conversations and stress the urgency of that.
Great. Thank you. That's all I have.
Councilman Roy.
Thank you for your presentation. You know, I think about, what was it, maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago, when the North Beach Community Association came out and during public comment kind of showed us some flooding and some other things. And in terms of the concern about making sure that we elevate the two streets, and I'm glad to see that we're doing that not only are we going to repair those, but we're going to elevate them. And so I think that that definitely shows how the community can get involved and working with us together to be able to achieve those things. The other thing I want to talk about, though, is I think that, and your presentation was good, but I also want to take a look at the future of North Beach and some of the things like erosion and some of the other things. And I wish that somebody was here from the USS Lexington, because I know in the past there's been some issues there as far as making sure that long-term that structure can stay in place and do the things that it needs to be done. Have you had an update at all or anything in terms of anyone from the USS Lexington talking about where they're at or any concerns about that structure?
When that concern was just first raised several years ago, I did a lot of research on this. And so when they brought that vessel in, they excavated out essentially a slip for it, and then they flooded the lower compartments. So it is very robustly held in place, and then they've filled around it. And it doesn't require the fill to stay stable. It's stable just with the friction between the bottom and the weight of the vessel, which is negatively buoyant now. And it would take, at the time they brought it in, the calculations indicated that you need about a 13-foot storm surge for it to become buoyant.
Okay.
Again.
I just remember a couple years ago there was some talk in terms of concern about its stability, and I don't know if maybe that was just something that was conjecture, but I just wanted to make sure that we're continuing to look at that, because when you look at the aquarium and the USS Lexington, those are probably two of the biggest assets that we have, especially on North Beach, but in the city, and so I want to just make sure that we're looking at that. The other thing is I know that there's also been conversations about looking at barrier islands and things of that nature to try to look long-term as far as where we're at on North Beach. And I just want us to continue that dialogue and actually not stop here and look at the second phase of planning, because I just think long-term we need to make sure that we've made so many improvements, done so many things. When you take a look at the TERS and what's happening there, now that the TERS is building funds up, that you can start seeing some of the good that's happening because of the TERS. So I don't want to stop here. I'd like us to actually look at the second phase in terms of what we need long-term and make sure that we have a roadmap for that too. So again, thank you for your work. I want to thank the people from North Beach that came out today, but start thinking about those things, because before you know it, that time's going to be here. So thank you.
Councilman Hernandez. Oh, sorry.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to kind of expound on what Councilman Klein had mentioned for the Region 13 Planning Group. The date, December 15th, has to do with updating the existing flood plan, the 2023 flood plan. In order to be eligible for state funding, it has to be in that plan.
Yes, sir.
So there's some items that aren't on there. Obviously, North Beach is not on there, as well as some other projects such as the project on Oso Creek and I think Williams Ditch on there. Right now, there's different categories: the planning, the project. That we need to make sure that we're in there in order to be eligible for any state funding that may be assigned in this next legislature. So I encourage you to make sure through engineering and our stormwater team to put those plans in there. If it's ready to go for a project, if we've done all the planning and the work associated with that, it can be elevated to a project status and be eligible for state funding.
Yes, sir.
There's also a separate item, because the GLO also does flood programs, but they're on a separate timeline. So we also need to take a look at what their timeline is for these kind of projects, especially coastal resiliency projects like maybe North Beach might be considered. It's something that we need to be very aware of, because if we're just bypassing these funding availability through these state agencies, then we're missing the boat.
Yes, sir.
So I want to make sure that we're doing that. And then also, they're starting the process for the 2028 plan.
Yes, sir.
We've got to make sure our projects, our stormwater projects, are on there in order to be able to be eligible for those grants. Now, they're matching grants. That's why I've worked so hard to put the stormwater 1/8 cent sales tax on the ballot for us to be able to match some of that funding with those projects. But we can't do it on that funding alone.
Yes, sir.
So I want to make sure we don't bypass that. So I want to be kind of clear that up there with regards to that.
Exactly, sir.
Thank you.
Councilman Hunter.
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Edmonds, I just wanted to acknowledge Shannon with the GLO is here. We've had a lot of concerns on the GLO, and won't really get a better opportunity than to be able to speak to the GLO directly. So after the 2 suggestions that were being made, I just hope we take advantage of her being here and getting the answers that we need. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, very good. I think that concludes questions and comments.
Mayor, I just want to add one more thing. Councilman Hernandez mentioned Proposition E. So that is the 1/8 cent sales tax ballot initiative the city put forward, and projects on North Beach would be eligible under that proposition for coastal resiliency, including Phase 2 of the linear canal.
Okay.
F, I'm sorry. Okay. Well,
okay.
I know. Okay. Proposition F, sorry, is that one, but that one is the seawall and coastal resiliency.
Right.
And we made sure that in the ballot language and in the materials given to the community, the contract with the voters, North Beach drainage and coastal resiliency are eligible on this proposition. So Proposition F that's on the ballot would make.
Pertains to this.
Yes.
And a lot of very good points made up here regarding this project, which is a very long time coming. And I too congratulate, I'm going to specifically say Carrie Myers, because 8 years ago we talked about it. We drove around, and the eco park was of great importance then, but it's great to see that it's coming along. That said, Peter, we do have a grant writer, and grants were brought up, in this conversation. But I almost think, and I know, one grant writer is not enough to address so many different areas that we can take advantage of through grants. But I think when we have a project like this, we might assign the person to really just be, I don't know what her schedule, I don't know how she works in terms of departments or what she focuses on, but something like this kind of project it absolutely, I think, needs the attention of the grant writer.
Right, yeah, and Mayor, just to remind us, so we had one up until October 1, so in this budget, we added the second grant writer.
Okay.
The person's not hired yet, but we'll have 2 eventually, but we agree, to make sure the grant writers, plural, are dedicated to certain initiatives, sections of the city.
I mean, they're all
that are more
important, but
right.
These are very time sensitive, so thank you.
Absolutely.
Oh, Councilman Roy.
Whoops, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
There's just one thing I forgot to mention. The thing that I'm most proud about North Beach is the fact that this council as a whole has been involved in making sure that North Beach is successful. And I think about, the meetings that we've attended and the issues, but I wasn't alone. I've had multiple council members here that have supported me and supported the community down there. And I'm just really thankful in terms of, next couple months, we don't know the future. But I can tell you right now that this council here, and I look at the mics and everybody here, has been very, very proactive in supporting North Beach. So I just want to thank all of you and the mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Roy. Okay, that concludes the briefing. We're going to go to item J, our consent agenda. That consists of item 4 through 13. Is there any request from council to pull an item for individual consideration? Items 4 through 13.
7.
Item number 7. Anyone else?
Item 8.
Item number 8. Okay, with that, I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda with the exception of items number 7 and 8.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please, any further discussion? Please submit your vote. Okay, the motion carries. Item number 7, Councilman Hunter, you pulled that one. It's an ordinance authorizing a 3-year lease with Elizondo Tennis Foundation. Your question or comment?
Sure, no,
Oh, sorry.
I can't support it just because the procurement process didn't seem fair. We've been given documents suggesting that one group had one percentage and another group had another percentage. And even though they were given similar percentages at the beginning, one was given a different opportunity after the bidding process. And that may be standard, but that doesn't seem fair, and that policy needs to change.
So there might be some, I'm sorry, for the record, Josh Conley, Assistant Director of Finance and Procurement. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. The procurement process has not changed. This is the same process we've always supported. What we had was a qualitative-based solicitation, much like we procure our engineers. We have an estimate for what the cost of the engineering work is. It's usually around 10% of the construction price, but it's not a fixed cost. It's a negotiated price that occurs after the solicitation. And so in the draft documents for that solicitation, we included a draft of the contract, and it did state percentages. But again, all throughout the document, it said that this was qualification-based, it wasn't price, and whoever was the most qualified would then be able to negotiate with the city to try to reach terms for a contract.
Well, thank you for the explanation, but I have been given, through my request, the documents on the percentage differences per individual. And if they're not the same per each different organization, then it doesn't seem like a fair process to me. So for example, 15, 20, and 25% versus 25, 30, and 35%.
So you have the final executed contract is the 15, 20, 25%. The draft version that was included with the solicitation had the percentages that the city had hoped would like to see. If we felt like if we left them blank, we'd come back with 1%, 2%, 3%. So we put in some aggressive percentages in our draft contract to try to ensure that we had a competitive negotiation. And remember, the negotiation itself is based off of the volume, the plan. It's not fixed based on just the.
Look, if y'all would give me the opportunity, I'll post what y'all gave all of the different groups, and that's fine with me.
No,
but all the different groups were given specific percentages.
Both groups were given the same. The RFQ was released one way. The final contract. The version, I'm familiar with what we had given both entities and what they both submit, and so I'm not sure what other document there could be, but those were both given the same percentages in the draft version of the contract. It's the public. You can go to the city's website right now and still see the open solicitation and see those documents attached, and it still includes the 25. Or 20, 25, and 30%, or whatever the other percentages were, as in the draft contract. That's what both entities received.
Okay. Thank you for your information.
Of course.
Okay. I will entertain, I'll entertain a motion to approve item number 7.
I move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Gumbels, do you have a? Okay. Please submit your vote. The motion carries. Item number 8 was pulled by Councilman Klein, and that is an ordinance annexing Clarkwood Estates subdivision. Councilman Klein, your question or comment?
Yeah, I expressed these concerns last week, and I still have them yet as well. I just think projects like this are contributing to the urban sprawl here in Corpus Christi, and the problem I've got with urban sprawl is that I think it is contributing to a rising utility rate burden by the population here in Corpus Christi. Our population is growing infinitesimally, if at all, and yet geographically we're expanding, and that I think we need to move in a different direction, and so I will be voting no on this measure.
Okay, Councilman Klein, thank you. I will entertain a motion to approve item number 8.
I'll make a motion. Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Councilman Pusley?
I just want to, discussed this item last time. I just want to make sure that we understand what the drainage issues are out in this area and to make sure that we're not going to create a problem here that we can't escape from. So, thank you.
Okay. Please submit your vote. Okay, the motion carries. And that takes us to item L, public hearing items 14 through 16. Item number 14 is a resolution authorizing a developer participation agreement with MPM Development.
I think we have a presentation coming up.
Well, if there are no objections, I'd like to make a motion we approve.
Let me put your light on. Councilman Presley?
With no objections, I'd like to make a motion to approve items 14 and 15.
Okay. Michael, would you just briefly tell us what those both are? And
Absolutely. Michael Dice, Development Services. Before I begin, briefly, if you didn't already know, Al's last day was Friday. I just want to thank Al for his 5 years of service. He was a great leader, mentor, and friend.
Is he watching?
He's not here.
Is he
Hopefully he's watching.
I doubt it.
I bet him a chicken sandwich to watch. So briefly, these are participation agreements. The first one is with MPM Development for Kings Landing. It's a continuation of existing participation agreements for the oversizing of streets. This is the location. Again, continued development within that neighborhood. Briefly, cost estimate. These are continued cost estimates through the development. We have previously had these before. Staff recommends approval of the participation agreement. It is in accordance with the UDC Section 8 for city participation in streets and drainage cross sections.
Okay, and then item 15 is an ordinance authorizing a wastewater trunk system construction and reimbursement agreement with MPM Development as well.
Correct. This is a trust fund reimbursement. Again, this one is through the same neighborhood for wastewater trunk system.
Okay.
The next presentation. Again, this is continued development within the Kings Landing neighborhood. I don't have the presentation up. Give you a brief. But again, it's continued trust fund reimbursement within that neighborhood.
Councilman Suckley.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is, I had good conversation with Michael about this with respect to the roller compacted concrete. And I think the first version of that first application was prior to this council. And I think there was a warranty, some warranty that was applied as a part of that approval.
Correct. On
that beta test. And so just kind of understanding how this next version, if it's going to have a warranty, if it's not, how the first version has held up, if you can expound on that.
Again, with the roller compacted concrete, it was a pilot program with this particular neighborhood and one other additional neighborhood. It was also being used in the city of Portland. Within the pilot agreement, it was an extended warranty. Our current warranty is 2 years. I believe this one is 7. My understanding is the street is doing well. I'm not an engineer, so I can't give an engineer version of it. But again, my understanding is everything is doing well, and it continues to expand through the neighborhood.
Yeah, Neiman and I, well, Ernie's not here, our Public Works Director. It's doing generally well. There's some issues at various aspects of the street, but those are being remedied. It's not a deal breaker, but just there are some issues from the piloting that we're working through, including turning areas that have high turning radiuses. But I think it's performing well, and Neiman and I were out there with Ernie a while ago with Moses as well. And so we all acknowledge the constraints, and I think we're working through them.
Yes, sir, and I agree. I think it's just growing pains from learning a new street installation process. Definitely some hiccups, in the beginning of the installation, but I have been receiving reports as there is included in our agreement is a request that we do, I believe, quarterly inspections of the streets, and that those inspections are performed by the engineering department. And from the reports that we've been receiving, the streets have been performing, improvements are being made in the installation, and the cracks in, some of the bumps and bruises that have experienced during the first installation of RCC, the developer has been very quick to respond and make those repairs and is working with the city to proof this concept in this pilot.
So if this is going to be a continuation of that same pilot 2 years later, do we kind of know, is the city going to keep seeing future proposals that are part of the pilot? When do we cease it being a pilot and we call it successful? Do we wait the 7 years until the warranty's expired? I mean, just kind of what is the path
I think
forward look like?
during the initial discussions, the discussion revolved around a 7-year wait and see type of process. Naturally, if the material and the installation is proven, it's 4 years, and both the engineering department and the public works department are satisfied with the work, then we'd probably be more flexible in easing back on that 7-year time frame. But at the current moment, the understanding is, this is a 7-year review and assessment of this material before we move forward with amending the UDC or seeing some type of RCC carried across the community.
Okay, so this one we're proposing to approve today will have an additional 7-year warranty on this. Is that the case?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And the pilot is within this entire subdivision. So this one, and there was another one down the road. What was that other one?
Yes, sir. I believe Gemini.
Gemini, yeah. So Gemini and these two subdivisions, as Moses builds them out, they're all in the pilot zone, the pilot area. Yes, sir.
Councilman Pusley.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So, Michael, explain real briefly, if you would, how the trust fund process works, how this is, paid by the developer or reimbursed by the city, et cetera.
Well, the first is a participation agreement. It is not trust fund. So that is done through the budget process for Public Works, and it's paid out through that. The second is the trust fund item.
Yeah, that's the one I was referring to.
Yeah, so the second one, so a developer, someone pulling a permit or redeveloping a property or developing a property will pay lot and acreage fees. Those fees then go into the different trust funds. And so if you develop, you pay into that. And part of the reimbursement is also the fees that they pay. They get a credit for those as part of the reimbursement.
Okay.
So it is paid into.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you.
Councilman Hernandez.
In looking at this, the infrastructure design manual, the IDM, when is this roller concrete going to actually be added to it?
Yes, sir. Again, currently we're going through the pilot process, and both the developer and the city agreed that timeline for that pilot process would be 7 years, unless something in the future makes the city more comfortable with accepting it before that time frame. But if we do go through, in accordance with the letter of the agreement, it's a 7-year timeline, and then we look at including or conducting discussions to include it in the IDM.
Okay, what about regular maintenance? What does that look like?
Regular maintenance?
Right. I mean, obviously every street has to have some sort of maintenance to it, right? So
yes, sir.
Would that has to be something that our staff needs to be aware of, and have they worked with Moses on that?
Yeah, continuously, sir. I mean, that was a significant portion of the initial discussions. Okay, well, how do we maintain this? This is, a new material. It's new to both the Public Works Department and the Engineering Department. But as it has been installed, and as the pilot program has matured, Public Works and Engineering has gotten smarter on the material, smarter on the maintenance plan, and those discussions regarding the maintenance have been held between the city staff and the developer. So,
I think the agreement isn't Moses? Yeah, the agreement has the developer is responsible for the maintenance for 7 or even greater years. So Moses is the one that's maintaining it, not the city.
It's 10 years, right?
10 years, right. So the developer is doing the maintenance for a 10-year period. That's part of the agreement that we have.
Well, ultimately, we're going to take these streets at some point, so we're going to need to have that aspect of it. And it looks like there's considerable savings based on what was presented here.
And as stated, Public Works Department has been working very closely with developers and the Engineering Department, understanding the material, understanding the maintenance, and naturally our guys on top of being prepared to assume that maintenance at the expiration of the pilot program.
Okay, I'd be interested in if this is something we could go forward, especially like in alleyways where we have considerable issues.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, thank you.
Roger.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. We have a motion, we have a second. Everyone, please submit your vote. And this is for item 15 and 16.
Did you hold a public hearing, Mayor?
No, I did not. I'm going to open public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make public comment?
Moses Mostagasi with MPM Development. Just want to touch on the RCC. So I'm a huge advocate of concrete in general, working with Public Works, engineering through our Richard Martinez and Ernie. We do all our neighborhoods either traditional concrete, which has the rebar, or the RCC. The RCC is really simplified, it's concrete. It's just installed like asphalt, so it's a faster process. Being that we do about 1,000 lots a year in the city of Corpus Christi and the surrounding communities, we've looked at what technology can bring, newer aspects, newer products to create same type of quality. We've done the geotech reporting that shows the type of quality that you get with asphalt or traditional concrete or RCC. So we do appreciate the city working with us in the test pilot. So King's Landing, we're on units 5 and 6. We've installed it in units 1 through 4. We have one portion of the neighborhood that's over 2 years old. We do quarterly inspections with the engineering services. And as far as any warranty issues, most of that has been maintenance. We had one issue in an area where the builders damaged some of the curve, which damaged some of the road, which ultimately we still took care of. So the city and the taxpayers don't spend any money repairing or doing any maintenance in this development for 10 years. We've decided to give that to the city to kind of prove the concept of the RCC, but it's basically concrete streets. So there's not a huge difference besides the application portion of it and the speed of installation, which helps us develop more lots at a quicker pace, considering we're doing about 1,000 lots a year in the city of Corpus Christi right now. So actually one of our quarterly inspections is going to be on Thursday, and that hits the 2-year mark on our phase 1 and 2. And our phase 3 and 4 is about 18 months old. We are doing it in Portland, where we've already installed it in 5 phases in the city of Portland as well. And they have a similar agreement, but in the city of Portland, they're doing a 5-year warranty. Because normally with concrete, and I think Jeff is somewhere here. And these were the discussions that we had. Ultimately, if you see deficiencies or issues in concrete, you'll see that within the first 5 years. So it's an open-ended discussion that we're having with the city to ultimately get it inside the IDM, but create a path forward so the city can maintenance just concrete in general, since most of the streets in the city of Corpus Christi are asphalt. But all our communities, whether it's the one in Royal Oak or the ones we've done on the south side, over the last 4 years, we were able to break through and just do concrete in general, which is our preferred product. So just wanted to touch on that, but it is a 10-year maintenance warranty and warranty/maintenance, which we take care of just to make sure all the little chips and dings and nicks that happen with all the different builders that we have in the area working with bobcats and heavy machinery. Most of that maintenance is due to damage by the home builders. And I don't want to say anything bad because I was a home builder, but we appreciate them. So thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Mustagasi. Is there anyone else that would like to comment on item number 14 or 15? Oh, okay. Okay, I'll close public hearing. And Councilman Roy.
Yeah, I just have a quick comment for either engineering or development services, because this makes me think about developments outside of this project. If you have a development that's not doing the RCC and they're just doing something else, I know that you inspect those projects, but how often do you inspect them, and then how long are they held in terms of making sure that if something's going on that the developer is responsible for that?
I'll let engineering services, they're actually the department that does the inspections.
Yeah, so typical road, it's 2 years, and we'll go out and perform an inspection at the end of that 2 years. And then we are just following the terms of this agreement to do those inspections. And we do that concurrently with the developer.
So after the 2 years, then it falls on the city's responsibility?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Please submit your vote. Okay, the motion carries. Item number 16 is an ordinance authorizing a wastewater collection line construction reimbursement agreement with Devonshire Custom Homes.
Similar item. Again, it's a wastewater collection line agreement. This is for $14,476.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. I'm going to open public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make comment on item number 16? Okay, there being no one, we'll close public hearing. And please submit your vote. The motion carries. So now the council will recess into the Corpus Christi Industrial Development Corporation meeting. And
Okay, Mayor and Council, the meeting of the Corpus Christi Industrial Development Corporation meeting is called to order. I'm calling this meeting to order only because it hasn't met since 2014 and we don't have officers. So until we elect the officers, we can start with that part. So never mind, I was going to kid around, but I better not. Okay, so I'm also going to call the roll. So Mayor Paulette Guajardo.
Present.
Councilmember Roland Barrera.
Here.
Gil Hernandez.
Here.
Michael Hunter.
Here.
Mike Pesley.
Here.
Jim Klein.
Here.
Everett Roy.
Here.
Sylvia Campos. And Dan Suckley. Okay, so now I'd like to go to election of officers. The first, we're electing officers, president, vice president, and also some staff positions, which are the general manager, the secretary, the assistant secretary, treasurer, and assistant treasurer. So,
okay.
Ma'am?
I'm just wondering why. Let's use can you play? Yes.
I'm just wondering, why are we doing it now at the end of our term for this?
There's some business that we need to take care of, the corporation needs to take care of related to the fire station. So that's why it's being scheduled.
So we have to elect the officers and...
Yes, and actually, once we complete this process, then the corporation will be dissolved. This is the last action the corporation will that they'll handle.
Yeah, it won't be,
I'm sorry. I thought there was one more. Okay.
Yeah, it won't be dissolved yet. Yeah, so this is something that goes back several decades. The corporation was set up for various reasons, but it owns rights to property that we will be using for the new fire station on Horn and Greenwood. And so this action, once the board is convened, will transfer that property to the city, not to the corporation, so that we can build the fire station.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so going back to election of officers, the first office is president. Are there any nominations?
I'd like to elect Councilman Barrera.
Any other nominations?
I'll move. Do we need a motion for this?
Nominate Councilman
Hunter? No, you don't need seconds for nominations. No, ma'am.
Don't nominate me.
Okay, Mr. Hunter is declining.
District 3.
It's just District 3. So.
Yeah, he declines the nomination. So at this point,
I appreciate
So is this a motion?
so I'm going to close nominations. And ma'am, since there are no other nominees, we can do this by he's elected.
Acclamation.
Yeah, by acclamation.
Congratulations.
Correct.
Thank you. You did it. Congratulations.
Okay.
It was a tough campaign.
It was
Okay, would you like to take over now, or?
Sure.
Okay, so we just have vice president and then the other officers.
All right. Are there any nominations from the floor for, I guess you have to let me go. Thank you. And turn me on.
Oh, yes.
All right. Are there any nominations from the floor for vice president? Gil Hernandez.
I'd like to nominate Everett Roy.
I'm good with Gil.
You want? Gil, do you want to do it?
Keep somebody in check.
Okay, well, let's go with Gil Hernandez then for vice.
It's going to be an exciting board.
Yeah, there you go. Lasts for a couple minutes.
Okay.
All right, are there any other nominations? Okay, without opposition, then I guess by acclamation, Gil Hernandez is the vice president. Correct?
Good job, Gil.
And the next one, so now I go to, where am I? Secretary, assistant secretary, and treasurer, and that's going to be city staff members, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. These staff these positions are being recommended to be filled by staff.
Okay. So recommendations, positions to be filled by staff are Secretary Rebecca Huerta, Assistant Secretary Stephanie Box, Treasurer Heather Holbert, Assistant Treasurer Sergio Villasana, and General Manager Peter Zanoni. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, the motion carries. There's minutes from 2010? Are those included in our packet?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right,
yes, they were.
of course. So I said, are there any corrections to the minutes?
Hope not.
Is Steve Klepper, is he around still? All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. All right, may I have a financial report? It says to ask for one.
I'm not sure if Mr. Villasana is here.
So trees. Winging Heather.
I'm Heather Hurlbert, treasurer. So if you, according to, and if you look in your packet, so the corporation has current assets and cash of $68,000, and that is restricted fund balance. And then with the year for the period ending July 31st, 2024, the corporation did begin the fiscal year of 24 with a fund balance of $68,000. There was no revenues or expenditures for the period, and so as of July 31st, 2024, there is an ending fund balance of $68,775. And that concludes my presentation.
All right, any questions for Ms. Holbert?
Good job.
Excellent job.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Where'd that money come from? Just out of curiosity.
From sale of assets, probably.
Yeah, I think so, yeah, whenever
Back in the
most likely sale of assets.
Sale of land. This corporation was set up to manage land for whatever reason. We're trying to sunset it, so this is one of the last remnants, is one more action that we have to take.
Yeah, it has one more piece of land along Oso Creek that we will bring back.
Right, we're going to bring that back, and then we'll close this thing out. It has no use today anymore. Yeah, it's a legacy thing that we're trying to clean up. There's a few of these in our books.
Yep.
And then we'll release the money potentially to the general fund if this, right. We can use that for operations.
Yeah, when you're,
Go ahead, Councilman Presley.
When you're looking at those properties, I would suggest, and I'd submitted this once before, there's a little bitty sliver of land that the county, that the city owns out here at the end of Navigation Boulevard that butts up against one of the refinery property ownerships, and they requested here a while back. I think they're mowing it and taking care of it. We ought to look at whether or not we want to just give it to them.
Yeah, we'll get that exact address from you later, Councilman.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you. On to new business. Item number 2 in your packet, motion authorizing the general manager to execute an amendment to the deed from the Texas General Land Office for the property commonly known as Salinas Park. I guess, Mr. Edmonds, you will be making a statement.
I will be making a statement. So I know this whole thing is probably a little bit confusing. So what triggered this whole thing is they were wanting to build a new fire station number 10 next to the old fire station number 10. And it seemed like it was going to be a simple property transaction because we thought it was our property. And then we learned that, no, this is actually the property of the Industrial Development Corporation. We also learned that there were some deed restrictions that attached to this property when we received it back from the state. So this was all part of the old Cliff Moss Airport. And to support the construction of the Texas State School, we dedicated the land to the state, and it seems like they only needed about half the land, and then they dedicated it back to us. But when it came back, it came to the Industrial Development Corporation. And it came with some deed restrictions on it. So we had to get them to agree to allowing the fire station use on that property. We've decided, since we're going to sunset this, and I want to clarify because there might be some mistakes in your backup material. At first, we were thinking about just taking the piece of land, 2 acres, for the site of the fire station, and then it was subsequently determined, no, just take the whole thing. We're going to sunset this Industrial Development Corporation. So it is the entire property in Salinas Park that's owned by the corporation that we're recommending you deed over to the city, which is Salinas Park, and the land that's shown on the screen here for where Fire Station 10, the new station, will be constructed.
Do you have a question?
It's just strange
Oh,
how
okay.
all this is.
Councilman Pusley has a question.
The reason it's coming up again, Council, because we're about to build the fire station, so we're getting everything in order. Yeah, that map, I don't know if that picture was up there, but the slideshow, right now the fire station's on the corner of Horn and Greenwood. We're going to move it to the left there a little bit in that yellow box, and then we'll build it, and then we'll demolish the corner piece and restore the baseball field that you'll see there, or use it for some other reason in the future. Maybe there's a higher and better use, but it's a good taxpayer project here because it doesn't cost us any money to use that property. We own it, and if we didn't own it, we'd have to buy property, which would impact ratepayers and taxpayers. So in this case, we're saving taxpayer money. And the firefighters whom I visited with many times to have lunch there with them, they love that intersection because of the neighborhood and the amenities that are around it. So it's a great location for the replacement.
And my comment is not about, the transfer of this property. It's just the process that, that this has been sitting here for over a decade, and we had not addressed it, or had not come up.
Yeah, there was no real need to, but we've been addressing a lot in the past 5 years, so there's still a lot to address.
Okay.
There's a few other corporations like this, as I mentioned. There's a housing corporation that is dormant. There's money in that corporation as well. So slowly but surely, we're trying to clean things up. It just takes time.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Pusley?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. Could we bring that drawing back up? Okay, so Peter, obviously we're going to encroach upon that existing baseball field, and you're stating that we may move it to where the old station was?
Right.
I would just caution you, we obviously need to put the baseball park back, but is there any, I'd be concerned about putting a baseball park at the intersection of a busy couple of streets like Horn and Greenwood are, because baseball parks, as you well know, tend to attract a lot of young kids playing around in and around them, and being close to that intersection may not be the most conducive area for that to be located. So but
we don't have
this is not my precinct, so anyway, our district. So just a thought.
Food for that.
Yeah, there's no firm plans on it, Councilman. It's just, and there's other territory as well. So that's the concept, but it may not. It may be we move some of the clubhouse facilities along the perimeter of the roadway, But safety is our #1 priority. So it's just we want to make sure that the baseball community knows that we have options, so we're not displacing any fields. So there's that choice, but there's a lot of property in that Salinas Park that Councilman Barrera is well aware of. So the point being made is just that as we displace that one field, we're going to restore it somewhere in Salinas Park. That's the commitment we're making.
Next to the BMX track.
Councilman Hernandez?
Thank you. Yeah, I was going to bring up the same thing if you don't see it in the image, but if you can bring the image back up. If you see where the parking lot is for the main ballpark, on the opposite behind it, there's some space in there where you can add a field there and then utilize the same parking lot or expand it to where you're not putting them on the corner there. It just would be a better, safer option than put them on the intersection of Greenwood and Horn. Right. And then you could utilize some of that same parking lot, just expand it over. Just a suggestion not to.
No, yeah, we appreciate it, Councilman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
And I think we've had those conversations with the architect. So, all right, is there anything else? So we can.
Motion to approve.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second? Second. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, the motion carries. That takes us to item number 3, authorizing the general manager to execute a deed conveying to the city of Corpus Christi the property commonly known as Salinas Park. I guess we could have done this together. And terminating the current lease with the city of Corpus Christi for said property.
Motion to approve.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Multiple seconds. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, motion carries. Is there a general manager's report, Mr. Zanoni?
There is none for this meeting, Councilman.
Okay, and this is kind of odd. Is there any public comment? At the end, is there any public comment? All right, there being no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. I know, we're almost there. Okay, so we're going to return to the city council meeting. So we're reconvening that. And we have one more item under one more item under individual consideration items. Item number 18 is resolution casting votes for candidate or candidates for the Nueces County Appraisal District Board of Directors.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Mayor and Council, Rebecca Huerta, City Secretary. So Senate Bill 2, which was passed during the 88th Texas Legislature, that changed the composition and increased the number of seats on the Nueces County Appraisal District Board. Now there are 5 members who are appointed by participating taxing units in the district. Entities can no longer appoint directors to specific places. The new selection process for the 5 appointed positions involves 2 steps, and that's 1, making nominations by resolution, and 2, allocating the city's voting entitlement, and that's the number of votes among the candidates on the ballot. So we've already done the first step on September 17th. The council nominated the following 4 candidates, who are Devin Bodka, Gerardo Jerry Garcia, Janie Gifford, and Susie Sullivan. So today, the council will determine how to cast the city's 1,100 vote entitlement among the candidates. And the council can do this by motion. You can make a motion to allocate X number of votes to whichever, to a candidate or candidates. And as, again, you know your nominees, who you've stated. So if there's any questions, I'll take those at this time.
Mayor?
Councilman Pusley?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion that we allocate 200 votes to Susie Sullivan and 900 to Devin Bodka.
Second, but I'd like to just make a comment. Maybe it's too early to second that, actually. I rescind it, but I do want to support that.
Okay.
I just have to ask a question.
Okay. Councilman Hunter?
Thank you. So I plan on seconding this and supporting this as long as potential board member Hilpold has the support of the county. Is that what we understand?
It's 1,100. I'm sorry?
I said I plan on seconding this and supporting the motion as long as potential board appointee Hilpold has the support of the county. And that's what has been expressed to us, but we don't have any representatives here to confirm that.
See, Hilpold, yes, she was nominated by the county.
County.
So, yes, sir.
Okay.
By Nueces County.
Thank you.
Councilman Hernandez, or Pesley?
Yes.
Did you have your light on, or is that prior light?
Oh, no, that's fire.
Prior, okay. Councilman Hernandez.
Okay, I guess this is kind of difficult to kind of follow along because we don't know what the other entities are going to do. Has any of them already voted?
Mayor and Council, Ryan Skrabarczyk, Intergovernmental Relations. 2 entities have sent in their votes, Agua Dulce School District and Driscoll. So it's not going to be tremendously helpful because that's 15 total votes. So we're one of the first of any substantial vote count.
So when is CCISD, which is the largest one, going to make their vote?
The 28th. By law, every entity is required to do so at the second public meeting, which this is ours. Because of the order in which the ballot came out and what the statute reads, it could be argued that effectively cities are at somewhat of a disadvantage because we meet more frequently than other entities.
Next week. Who was their nominee?
I'm not advised. I didn't have.
They're according to this, they nominated Caitlin Choop and and Susie Sullivan.
Yeah, Caitlin Chupay too, that's right.
Do we know how they're going to split that up? Is
the question in regards to CCISD? Conversations, I have no knowledge because they haven't met yet. My conversations are limited, obviously, to a certain amount of the trustees that are there, and so the board members, the chairman was just here and he indicated that they'll try to support their candidates. But the reality is you're going from fewer seats available to what you have now, which is 5. So the concept that everybody's going to get 2 people essentially is not going to, that won't work. And so realistically, in a universe of 5,005 votes, which is what are available to the taxing entities, you don't have to worry about being the first or the one with the most votes. It's about who's going to be 5th or get the 5th most votes, right? Because it's basically a system where it's just going to be the top 5 vote getters.
It's like borrowing money from the mafia. Which I've never done.
Reasonably, sir. I mean, this would be an assumption, but I would think you could assume they're going to support.
We're counting as 900 being enough for the 5th vote, or for the 5th place?
That's a good question. So there's some, I guess, game theory involved in that. The reality is if you consider the fact that all votes being equal, the 6th person would get 834 point something votes, then you need more than that to be the 5th person, the last person that gets appointed to the board, right? But that would be the average. And so in order to assure it, and I asked ChatGPT this earlier, AI says that you probably want to do a little bit more than the average just to assure you have the necessary votes to secure a seat for a position. So the motion that Councilmember Pusley has made is 900 for one individual and 200 for the other, basically allowing you to, in theory, cement one position and then provide additional ballots to another individual.
But we would only need 834.
I'm not a mathematician, sir. I really don't want to hazard a guess. And this is the first time we're going through this. So based on what I've been told and what I can tell is around that number is what secures the 5th seat.
So Agua Dulce and
Driscoll are the 2 entities.
And who'd they vote for?
I'm not advised. The district didn't provide that information. They just said that they were the only 2 that have voted or sent in their ballots so far.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Suckley.
Pretty much everything's already been discussed and answered from Councilmember Hunter and Hernandez. I had the same questions. specifically about Ms. Hillpold and the county and who had already committed their votes a certain way. I mean, like has already been mentioned, we've lost our impact in this election by being first, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Thank you.
Councilman Barrera.
Here, can you repeat the motion? The 200 was going to go to who?
Would go to Sullivan.
Sullivan.
Sullivan and 900 to Devon Bunny.
For argument's sake, I'll second it.
Mr. Hunter, you seconded?
Yes.
I thought you were saying.
Oh, that's right. I guess Gil can have it. Golly.
So, most likely that I would assure us one out of the 5. And, I mean, that's the whole thing. We're playing a math game. Because I would have liked to have somehow or another had an impact with 2. All right, I'm just thinking out loud. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second for Sullivan 200, Devon 900. Yeah, okay. Please submit, we already had discussion, yes ma'am? Okay, everyone if you'll please submit your vote.
Roll the dice. It's kind of what we're doing, isn't it?
The motion carries. Oh, you know what, we didn't open public comment on that. Did anyone hear, you 3, did y'all have public comment on this? Okay, all right. There was none. All righty, well, there being no further business, this meeting is adjourned at 1:48 p.m. Record time.